You know that moment when you realize your entire childhood was a lie. When you finally understand that the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally never actually saw you as their child. Just a supporting character in someone else's story. I'm 24 now. I have my own apartment, a decent job, and I haven't spoken to my parents in over 3 years. And honestly, I sleep better now than I ever did growing up. But 3 years ago, on a random Tuesday in March, my parents did something so unhinged, so completely out of pocket, that it forced me to see what I'd been denying my entire life. They kicked me out of the house I grew up in, threw every single thing I owned into actual garbage bags and left them on the curb like trash pickup day. My crime. I talked back to my sister. And before you think this is one of those stories where I was actually being a nightmare and just don't realize it, let me be very clear. I was 21 years old. I had a full-time job. I was paying rent to live there. And what I said to my sister was, and I quote, "Emma, I'm not doing your laundry anymore. You're 19. You can figure it out." That's it. That's what got me thrown out. But here's the thing about abusive family dynamics that nobody tells you. It's never really about that one moment. It's about 21 years of being invisible, being the backup plan, being the kid who existed to make the favorite child's life easier. This is the story of how I lost my family, and how I realized I never really had one to begin with. Let me paint you a picture of the Rodriguez household. There's Mom, Patricia, real estate agent, PTA president, the kind of woman who needs everyone to think she's Mother of the Year. Facebook posts about her girls, strategically cropped photos, the whole performance. Dad, Michael, middle management at a tech company, the kind of guy who checks out emotionally but funds everything financially. His parenting strategy was basically, whatever keeps the peace so I don't have to deal with drama. Then there's Emma, 3 years younger than me. And from the moment she was born, I became scenery in my own life. Now, I need you to understand something. This isn't jealousy talking. This isn't me being bitter because my little sister was cute or whatever. This was systematic, observable, documented favoritism that everyone in our extended family could see but nobody ever called out. Emma got a new iPhone every year. I used hand-me-down Androids until I could buy my own. Emma got a car for her 16th birthday. A used but decent Honda Civic. I was told cars were a privilege you earn, and maybe if I saved up, they'd match my contribution. They never did. I bought my own car at 19, a beat-up Toyota that barely ran. Emma's college. Fully paid. Dorm room, meal plan, spending money, sorority dues. Everything. My college. I got a lecture about student loans building character and how community college for 2 years was the smart financial choice. I worked 30 hours a week while going to school full-time and still graduated with $28,000 in debt. But it wasn't even the money that hurt the most. It was the casual cruelty of it. The way they'd forget my birthday but throw Emma a surprise party. The way my high school graduation was a quiet dinner at Olive Garden, but Emma's was a backyard barbecue with 50 people. The way my mom would introduce us. This is Emma, she's studying marketing at State. And this is my other daughter. My other daughter. Like I was an afterthought. A bonus feature nobody asked for. I spent my entire childhood trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. Was I not pretty enough? Not charming enough? I got good grades, better than Emma actually, but somehow that made it worse. Mom would say things like, "Well, school comes easy to you. Emma has to work harder, so we're more proud when she succeeds." Played by every rule. I was quiet, helpful, low maintenance. I thought if I just needed less, complained less, asked for less, maybe they'd finally see me. They never did. By the time I was 18, I'd accepted my role. I was the responsible one. The one who didn't cause problems. The one who'd be fine no matter what because I always figured things out on my own anyway. And honestly, I'd made peace with it. I wasn't waiting for some big redemption arc where my parents suddenly realized they'd neglected me. I was just counting down until I could afford to move out and build my own life. But then something shifted after I graduated high school. See, Emma had always been a little entitled. Spoiled, yes, but in that way where you could still roll your eyes and move on. But as she got older, 17, 18, 19, it morphed into something darker. She wasn't just bratty. She was cruel. And she'd figured out exactly how much power she had in our house. She started treating me like her personal assistant. Jess, can you pick up my prescription? Jess, I need you to cover my shift at the restaurant. She'd gotten a part-time job she barely showed up to. Just call in sick for me. Jess, can you finish my essay? It's due tomorrow and I have plans. First I'd push back gently. Emma, I have work. Emma, that's your responsibility. But she'd learned from the best. She'd go crying to Mom about how mean I was being, how unsupportive, how I never helped her with anything. And like clockwork I'd get the lecture. She's your sister. Family helps family. Why do you have to make everything so difficult? She looks up to you. Would it kill you to be kinder? So I do it. The prescription run. The shift cover. The goddamn essay. Because it was easier than the alternative. 'Cause I was tired. Because I only had to survive a little longer before I could leave. But there was this one thing, this one boundary I'd managed to hold. I refused to do Emma's laundry. Sounds stupid, right? Laundry. Of all things to make a stand over. But here's the context. When I turned 16, my mom sat me down and explained that I was old enough to do my own laundry now. Perfectly reasonable. She taught me how to sort colors, what settings to use, the whole thing. Oh, life skill acquired. Emma turned 16. And nobody said a word to her about laundry. By the time she was 19, she'd never done a single load in her life. Mom did it. And when Mom was too busy, she'd ask me to help out. Helping out turned into expectation. I'd come home from my shift at the insurance office where I worked full-time, and there'd be a massive pile of Emma's clothes in the laundry room. Not in the hamper. Just on the floor. Sometimes still wet from the gym, reeking of sweat. And I'd get a text. Can you throw in a load for me? Need my white jeans for tomorrow, red heart. No please. No thank you. Just assumption. For months I did it. I'm not even sure why. Muscle memory of being the good daughter, I guess. The one who didn't cause problems. But there was this Tuesday, March 14th, I'll never forget it. I came home after a particularly brutal day. My boss had chewed me out over something that wasn't my fault. I'd spilled coffee on my shirt during lunch. My car had made a horrifying noise on the drive home that I definitely couldn't afford to fix. I was exhausted. Bone deep, soul tired, exhausted. I walked in and there it was. Pile. Except this time it wasn't just clothes. Emma had apparently decided to wash her bedding too and just left everything in a damp heap. Her comforter, sheets, pillowcases smelled like mildew already. And something in me just snapped. Not in a dramatic way. I didn't yell or throw things. I just walked past it, went to my room and closed the door. 20 minutes later, Emma barged in without knocking. Did you not see the laundry? I looked up from my phone. I saw it. Okay, so can you do it? I need those sheets tonight. No. She blinked. Like I'd spoken a foreign language. What do you mean, no? I mean no, Emma. I'm not doing your laundry anymore. You're 19 years old. You can figure it out. Her face went through this fascinating journey. Confusion, then irritation, then this calculated look I'd seen 1,000 times. The look she'd get right before she weaponized our parents. Wow, bae. So you're just going to be a bitch about this? I'm not being a bitch. I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference. You know what? Fine. I'll just tell Mom you're being difficult again. Cool. Do that. She stormed out. And I sat there, heart pounding because I knew what was coming. But I was so tired of folding. So tired of being convenient. 10 minutes later I heard the front door open. Dad coming home from work. Then Mom's voice, high-pitched, coming up the stairs. She didn't knock either. Just opened my door. Jessica. Living room. Now. You ever have one of those moments where you can feel the temperature of a room change? Where you walk in and just know something's shifted? That's what the living room felt like. Dad was on the couch, still in his work clothes, looking uncomfortable. Mom was standing, arms crossed. Emma was perched on the armchair, and I swear to God, she had this tiny smirk on her face. Sit, Mom said. Sat. Emma tells me you refused to help her with laundry. I told Emma she's old enough to do her own laundry, yeah. And you don't see a problem with that? Took a breath. They come. Don't escalate. Mom, I work full-time. Pay rent here. I do my own chores. Emma's an adult. She can handle her own laundry. She's your sister. I know. And I love her. But I'm not her maid. Emma made this offended noise. Oh my God, I never said you were my maid. I just asked for help. You didn't ask. You left a pile of moldy laundry and expected me to deal with it. It's not moldy. Emma, it smells like a locker room. Mom cut in. Okay, enough. Jessica, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but this attitude needs to stop. Something hot flared in my chest. What attitude? The one where I have boundaries. The one where you're selfish. Where you act like you're too good to help your family. I help constantly. Cover her shifts. I drive her places. I've written her college papers. You've what? Dad spoke for the first time, looking at Emma. He shrugged. Just editing. It's not a big deal. It was absolutely not editing. I'd written 3 entire essays for her freshman year. But I let it go because that wasn't the point. Look, I said, trying to sound reasonable. I'm not trying to start a fight. I just think Emma's old enough to do basic adult tasks. And I think you're old enough to understand that family means supporting each other. Mom shot back. But apparently, everything has to be a battle with you. Everything's a battle with me. Are you serious right now? Don't take that tone. What tone? I'm literally just talking. And then Emma, timing it perfectly, let out this shaky breath and her eyes got all watery. I just don't understand why she hates me so much. Oh, she was good. She was so good. Mom immediately shifted to her, voice softening. Honey, she doesn't hate you. Yes, she does. She's always been like this. Cold. I try so hard to have a relationship with her and she just pushes me away. I stared at her. At this performance. This masterclass in manipulation. Emma. Stop. See. She looked at Mom with these big, wounded eyes. She can't even let me have feelings. I'm not doing this. I stood up. I'm not doing your laundry. I'm done being your personal assistant. Figure it out. I turned to leave, and Mom's voice cracked like a whip. If you walk away right now, there will be consequences. Stop. Turn back. What kind of consequences? She and Dad exchanged a look. And I watched in real time, as they had an entire conversation without words. The kind only people married for 25 years can have. Dad sighed. Jessica. Maybe it's time we talked about your living situation. My stomach dropped. My what? You're 21, Mom said, voice cold now. You have a job. Maybe it's time you found your own place. The room tilted. Are you kicking me out? We're suggesting that maybe some independence would be good for you. Help you grow up a little. I pay rent here. I've been paying rent for 2 years. We never asked you to, Dad said quietly. You literally did. You sat me down on my 19th birthday and said if I wanted to keep living here, I needed to contribute $400 a month. Mom waved a hand dismissively. We've been putting that into savings for you. Bullshit. The word came out before I could stop it. The room went silent. What did you just say to me? Mom's voice was dangerous now. I said bullshit. You're not saving anything. You're moving the goalposts because Emma cried and you can't handle me not bending over backward for her anymore. Get out. What? Get of my house. My heart was slamming against my ribs. Mom, you want to act like you're too good for this family. Like we're all so terrible. Fine. Leave. See how you do on your own. I looked at Dad, pleading without words, hoping he'd step in, be the voice of reason. He looked at his hands. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a heat of the moment thing. They'd already decided. Emma had cried, Mom had raged, and Dad had agreed to keep the peace. Like always, I was already gone. They were just making it official. Fine, I heard myself say. I'll pack. Tonight, Mom said. I want you out tonight. It's 8 p.m. Then you better hurry. I don't remember walking up the stairs. I just remember standing in my room, staring at all my stuff and feeling completely hollow. Where do you even start? How do you pack up 21 years of your life in a few hours? I grabbed my school backpack and started with essentials. Laptop, chargers, documents, birth certificate, social security card, car title. I'd bought that car myself, they couldn't take it. Toiletries. Few changes of clothes. My hands were shaking so badly I kept dropping things. There was a knock. Hey! He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. Need help? I almost laughed. Now you want to help. Jess. Don't. Just. Don't. He was quiet for a moment. Your mother's angry. Give her a few days to cool off. I'm sure. Dad. He kicked me out. On a Tuesday night. With nowhere to go. Over laundry. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And you let her. It's not that simple. It really is though. It's exactly that simple. He didn't have an answer for that. Just stood there, looking uncomfortable, before mumbling something about leaving some trash bags by my door and walking away. I packed like I was on autopilot. Photos, though looking at family photos now felt like looking at evidence of a crime. My laptop setup. The nice headphones I'd saved up for. My grandmother's necklace. The only thing I had from her. It was close to 11 p.m. when I realized I had nowhere to go. My best friend Sarah was studying abroad. My other close friend was living with family 2 hours away. I scrolled through my phone, trying to figure out who I could call at 11 at night and ask for a place to crash. I settled on my coworker Marcus. We weren't close, but we got along. I sent a text. Hey, I know this is random, but do you have a couch I could crash on tonight? Family emergency. He responded in 2 minutes. Yeah, of course. You okay? I wasn't. But I wrote back. I will be. Thanks. I'll explain later. He sent his address. I made 3 trips to my car, loading everything I could fit. My room looked ransacked. Empty hangers, bare walls, open drawers. Evidence of an evacuation. On my last trip down, I passed Emma's room. The door was open. She was on her bed, scrolling on her phone, looking completely unbothered. She glanced up when she saw me, and for just a second I saw it. Not guilt, not regret, satisfaction. This was what she wanted. Vegan. One less person to share attention with. One less person who knew exactly what she was. I didn't say anything, just kept walking. Mom and Dad were in the living room when I came down with my final bag. TV was on. They were watching some home renovation show. Like this was normal. Like their daughter wasn't leaving. "I'm going," I said. Mom didn't look away from the TV. "Good. Mom," Dad started. "Michael, don't." Waited. For something. An apology. A moment of clarity. A sign that some part of them realized this was insane. Nothing. I walked out the front door and closed it behind me. And that's when I saw them. Trash bags. On the curb. By the mailbox. 6 contractor bags, the heavy-duty black ones. Stuffed full and tied closed. I walked closer, stomach sinking, and opened one. My stuff. The things I couldn't fit in my car. My winter coats. My yearbooks. My art supplies from high school. Stuffed animals from childhood. Photo albums. They'd gone through my room after I'd loaded my car and thrown away everything I'd left behind. Like trash. Like I was trash. I stood there on the lawn of the house I grew up in, under the porch light, staring at garbage bags full of my memories, and something inside me just broke. Not broke like crying. I was past crying. Broke like a bone that sets wrong. Like something that heals differently than it was before. Took photos. I don't know why. Evidence maybe. Proof that this happened. That I wasn't crazy. Then I loaded what I could fit into my car, squeezing bags into the back seat, the trunk, the passenger seat, and drove away. I didn't look back. Marcus was a saint. He gave me his couch, didn't ask invasive questions, and when I finally broke down and told him the full story over coffee the next morning, he just said, "Your family's fucked up. You can stay as long as you need." I stayed for 3 weeks while I scraped together enough for a deposit on a studio apartment. It was small. The bathroom was weird. But it was mine. I blocked my parents' numbers. Blocked Emma. Blocked extended family who tried to reach out with both sides bullshit. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. The first few months were brutal. Cried a lot. I was angry constantly. I'd have dreams where I'd go back home and they'd apologize. And I'd wake up feeling sick because even in my dreams I wanted their love. I started therapy. Real therapy. And slowly, session by session, I started to unpack everything. The parentification. The scapegoating. The golden child dynamic. All the psychology terms for what I'd lived through. Understanding it didn't make it hurt less. But it made it make sense. About 6 months after I moved out, my mom texted from a number I didn't have blocked. One line. "This has gone on long enough. Time to stop being dramatic." I didn't respond. A year later, I got a call from an aunt. Emma was getting married. They wanted me at the wedding. For family unity. Politely declined. "You're really going to miss your sister's wedding over a fight about laundry." "It was never about laundry," I said. "But yeah, I'm not going." She called me selfish. Unforgiving. Cold. Maybe I am. I've made peace with that. Here's the part one didn't expect. 2 years after I moved out, I got a Facebook message from Emma's college roommate. A girl named Becca I'd met maybe once. "Hey. I don't know if I should tell you this, but I think you deserve to know." She sent me screenshots. Text messages between Emma and her friends. From that week. The week I got kicked out. Emma. Operation Get Jess Out of the House is officially in motion. Friend. Wait, what? Emma. I'm so tired of her being around. She's such a buzzkill. So I'm gonna cry to mom about her being mean and see what happens. Friend. OMG, your evil face with tears of joy. Emma. It's honestly so easy. Mom always takes my side. Another screenshot. From the day after I left. Emma. She's gone. I have the whole upstairs to myself now, party popper. I stared at those messages for a long time. Part of me already knew. Had known on some level exactly what she'd done. But seeing it in writing was different. Seeing proof that it was planned. That she'd manipulated the situation deliberately to get me thrown out. And my parents had helped her do it. Becca messaged again. I'm sorry. I know you guys don't talk. But that felt really messed up, and I thought you should know Emma's not the person she pretends to be. Thanked her. And then I saved those screenshots to 3 different places and went about my day. I didn't confront Emma. Didn't send them to my parents. Because here's what I realized. It wouldn't matter. They made their choice that night. Emma could confess the whole thing on video, and it wouldn't change the fact that my parents threw me out like garbage. That they chose her comfort over my safety. That they'd rather lose me than hold her accountable. Some things aren't fixable. And I was done trying to fix people who didn't think they were broken. I'm 24 now. It's been 3 years. I got promoted at work. I have my own apartment. A nice 1-bedroom I can actually afford. I adopted a cat named Soup. I've been dating someone for 8 months who treats me like I matter. I have friends who show up when I need them. Who don't keep score. Who don't make me earn basic respect. Built a family. It doesn't look like the one I grew up in. It's better. Do I still think about them? Sometimes. Usually late at night or on holidays. There's this grief that sits in my chest that I don't think ever fully goes away. It's not grief for what I lost. It's grief for what I never had. I grieve the parents I deserved. The childhood I should have had. The sister who could have been my best friend instead of my bully. But I don't regret leaving. Not for a second. A few months ago, I ran into an old neighbor at the grocery store. She asked how my family was doing, and I said, I wouldn't know. We don't talk anymore. She got this pitying look. Oh, honey. Family is family. I'm sure whatever happened, you can work it out. And I just smiled and said, some things aren't meant to be worked out. Because here's what I've learned. You don't owe anyone a relationship just because you share DNA. You don't have to keep people in your life who treat you like you're disposable. And walking away from toxicity isn't giving up. It's growing up. My parents taught me what I didn't want to be. Emma taught me what I won't tolerate. And that night, the night they threw me out, taught me that I'm strong enough to survive losing everything and build something better. Would I go back if they apologized? Honestly, I don't think so. Not because I'm holding a grudge. But because I've seen who they are when the mask slips. I've seen how quickly love can turn conditional. And I've built a life I'm proud of without them. I don't need closure. I don't need them to realize what they did. I don't need a dramatic reconciliation or a tearful reunion. I just need to keep moving forward. And I am. If you're listening to this and you see yourself in my story, if you're the scapegoat, the invisible kid, the one who's always bending to keep the peace, please hear me. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You weren't born defective. You're not too sensitive or too difficult or too much. You were just born into a family that couldn't see your value. And that's their failure, not yours. And if you're in a situation like I was, where you're being treated as less than, where your boundaries are being steamrolled, where you're told you're the problem for not accepting mistreatment, you're allowed to leave. You're allowed to protect yourself. You're allowed to choose peace over blood. Scary. It's hard. There will be days you doubt yourself. Days you wonder if you overreacted. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. is space to breathe, is the chance to become who you actually are instead of who they needed you to be. 3 years ago, my parents threw me out like trash. And you know what? They were right about one thing. I didn't belong in that house. I belonged somewhere better. And now I'm here. Family isn't just blood. It's respect, reciprocity, and genuine care. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who will never see your worth, and build a life where you're finally valued.